Hey, what's up guys? Nick here. Welcome back to the Resident Evil 4 Professional Difficulty No Damage walkthrough. We're moving on to Chapter 4. Unfortunately, this is the last section of Chapter 4, and it's also the last section of the castle section in the game. So once we move on to Chapter 5, that's when we're actually going to be moving on to the island section, which I think pretty much everyone can agree is the worst section of the game. But let's not talk too much about that, because before we get there, we still do have to get through this level. Now, you're going to come to this room here. This is kind of the first of 3 sections of this level. I'm not sure what you would call it. I usually just call it the Salazar statue room. And that is because there's just this ridiculous mechanical Salazar statue. I don't know. This is one of the more kind of cartoonish elements in the game. I thought this whole section here was a bit ridiculous, but nevertheless, as I always say, it doesn't matter what I think about a particular part of the game. We still have to figure out a way to get through it, and that's exactly what I'm here to show you how to do. So this part here is pretty simple. If you really wanted to, so I'm going to kind of go through this as quickly as possible to save ammunition. But if you really wanted to, you can kind of explore this area more than I did. But so you'll see we kill the first 2 enemies, and now you can see that the left hand on this statue is moving up and down, and we're gonna keep it like that. And what's gonna happen is a couple enemies are gonna jump onto the hand, then they're gonna jump over to you, and you're gonna stand here with your knife ready, and basically you're just gonna be knifing as much as possible. Now you want to avoid having an enemy get behind you like I did right there. And instead what you're going to want to do is something like this. So I'm going to start knifing this guy, and you can see that because he's close enough to the edge, as soon as this guy jumps over, I'm already knifing, and he kind of jumped right into my knife. And it makes it really easy because you're knifing one enemy, the other one jumps over, and then they just jump straight into your knife, then they fall down, and then you knife that enemy, and then it's just kind of this nice little rinse and repeat process until all of the enemies are out of the way. Now you can see there's one more enemy right here to deal with. I'm going to let him jump over and then just finish him off the same way. Now you'll see that there are 2 enemies across the room. However, you'll notice that the right hand of the statue is not moving. So those 2 enemies, for the time being, they can't actually get to me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to jump over to the left hand, turn around immediately, and then there's going to be a crossbow enemy, and you're going to shoot him a couple times with a pistol. You could shoot him enough to where he'll die on your first attempt, but otherwise you'll just have to wait until you go down and then shoot him again on your second time up. But there you go. So kill the guy with the crossbow. Once he's dead, jump the gap here and kill his friend. Now there's a couple vases littered around the area, so make sure you take the time to slash those and get some treasure. And then you'll see this lever behind me, and you're going to want to pull that lever, and that will raise the first little piece of the bridge right there. And believe it or not, it's actually better to raise that lever before the other one. So there are 2 levers in this area, and once you pull the other lever, some more enemies will spawn, and where they spawn, it actually does make it kind of difficult to navigate the rest of the section. So that's why I recommend pulling that first lever that I did first. And now we are on the center platform. You'll see that there are the right hand of the statue is now moving because I hit this little switch to my right, and the left hand has now stopped moving. And so what you want to do here is pull out the shotgun, and right when the enemies are about to jump, that's when you shoot them. And then just like in previous levels, they'll fall down in mid-jump, and they'll fall down, and hopefully the fall damage will kill them. But if it happens to not kill them, you can just finish the job with your pistol. And then what you're going to do is just stand here on this center platform and give it a couple seconds. That guy went flying from a knife. But give it a couple seconds and just make sure no more enemies are going to come and rush you. Now you can see this last enemy here. He's the guy wearing the red robe. Eventually, once you kill all his buddies, he will climb that ladder and make his way towards you. But you could see I was able to shoot him off the ladder. And then right there, notice how I actually shot that lever once again. That stops the right hand, and it moves the left hand, and that way no enemies can sneak up on me because that right hand is no longer mobile. So there's no way for the enemies to get to this location where I'm standing now, and that's exactly what we want, because once we finish off this guy in red, we'll be clear to kind of just keep running through this section, and that's really all you have to do. Now, like I said, if you wanted to, there are more, you know, levels of this section that you can explore. There's some more vases you can pick up and everything like that, but it's not necessary. But anyway, so now that we've killed that guy in red, you can kind of hear the music has toned down, telling us that we're kind of in the clear. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull this second lever. The bridge is now complete. However, be careful because more enemies are about to spawn. So as soon as you pull that lever, just take a run for it, turn right, go across the bridge, and that's when this ridiculous Salazar statue will activate. You're going to have to press the square button or the X button to sprint, and then you're going to have to press the triggers to dodge these falling pillars. You'll get to this door here, just knife the lock off, kick open the door, and then you're going to continue running down the bridge. Again, you're going to have to press square or X if you're on the Xbox to sprint away, and then at the last second you're going to be prompted to hit the triggers to jump, and then once again mash that square button to climb up. And assuming you do everything correctly, Leon will pull himself up to safety, and you are now done with the statue room, and we'll be moving on to the final encounter before the Salazar boss fight. But before that, here is another cutscene.
So nice you could join us, Mr. Scott Kennedy.
You again.
The sacred rite that's about to begin at this tower shall endow the girl with magnificent power. She will join us, become one of us.
This is no ritual. It's terrorism.
Isn't that a popular word these days? Not to worry. We've prepared a special ritual for you.
Alright guys, so here we go. Salazar is going to ascend all the way to the top of this tower, and it's our job, of course, to chase him and put him down once and for all. So we're going to have to go up this tower the hard way. We don't have the luxury of using an elevator. At least not yet. Don't worry, we will get to the elevator shortly. And once again, I have a pretty good strategy on how to get through that elevator section pretty easily, actually. But before that, we have to actually get to the elevator. So what you're going to do is you're going to start going up these stairs here. You're going to equip your rifle. And once you get to this spot here where you see this little animation of the enemy with this barrel trap, go ahead and turn to your left, and you can see one enemy drops down the ladder, so make sure you put him down quickly. Then you can shoot the guy that's controlling the barrel trap, so there you go, nice headshot. And then you can see his buddy just looking down instead of taking cover, so we'll take advantage of his stupidity and put him down as well. And there you go. That's actually the only 3 enemies that are currently in the area, and we took them out without even having to worry about those barrels. Now, once we go up to the top, eventually once we get to the top, more enemies are going to spawn. However, they're going to spawn at the bottom of the tower, and you're going to see that we can actually use the barrel trap against them. So, before going all the way up, you're going to want to climb along these rafters here. Now, there is one enemy that is still up there, and he's throwing dynamite. So what you're going to do is climb up this ladder. You'll see all of the enemies spawn below. Before you worry about them, immediately turn around, aim across the tower, and you'll see that guy throwing dynamite. Just get him out of the way. And now you're just going to start spamming the operate button here to drop as many barrels as you can. And notice how every once in a while I turn around and look at this ladder behind me. One of the enemies almost always will climb this ladder, so you just want to be aware of that in case he sneaks up on you. And the only other piece of advice is notice that where I'm standing while I'm operating this trap, I'm standing to the very far edge so that the barrels don't fall on me, because that can happen. If you're standing in the wrong position, the barrels will actually fall and hit Leon and cause you a lot of damage. So notice how I'm kind of standing to the very edge of the trap operation center. So again, just right here, as far away as I possibly can be from where the barrels are dropping. And that's pretty much it. In my experience, only one enemy ever made it up the ladder. The rest of them got killed by the barrels. Nevertheless, it doesn't hurt to just turn around every once in a while and make sure that no one is sneaking up behind you. In fact, that guy that did sneak up behind me, you saw that if I had been a second quicker, I would have been able to knife him off the ladder, and the fall damage might have killed him, but unfortunately I wasn't quick enough, and he did in fact get up the ladder. But again, because I was aware of that, I was able to kill him before he was able to cause any damage. But anyway, you're just going to keep operating the barrel trap, maybe for about 30 to 40 seconds, basically until you don't hear any more enemies running up to you. You can usually hear them because they have like their weapons kind of have this metal clinging to them, and that you can hear the shield enemies. So just do it for about 30 or 40 seconds. Just make sure all the enemies are dead. It's a really good way to kill all of them without wasting ammo. And then what you're going to do, this is completely 100% optional. But I'm going to go all the way back down because there's one enemy that will not run up the stairs, and it's kind of the ringleader here. And the only reason I recommend doing this is because since he is the ringleader, when you kill him, he will drop a bit more treasure than some of the standard enemies. So you see that's exactly what I'm going to do here. And he doesn't take a lot to put down, just a couple bullets to knock him down, and then finish the job with your knife. And I think right here should finish it. So he does take quite a bit of damage, but nothing insane. But there you see, you pick up the treasure. Again, that's completely optional. But one thing that is important to note is once we get to the Salazar boss fight, I am going to be purchasing a rocket launcher. So if maybe you happen to be just shy of the amount you need for a rocket launcher, then killing that guy might actually help you out. So I just wanted to share it so you know exactly that possibility exists. But anyway, before we get to Salazar, we are going to approach this elevator here. And this elevator, the first time I played this game, was one of the hardest sections in the game for me. But what you're going to do is you're actually going to use the fact that these railings do not extend the entire border. You're going to use that to your advantage. So you can see how the railings that serve as a border, they don't actually border the entire elevator, and that can really help you out. And so now we're going to get ready to use the switch here. Okay, so as soon as you hit the switch, what you're going to want to do, you have to do this very quickly, so kind of pay attention here. I'm just kind of showing you that you have to aim up. So watch how this works. I'm going to activate the switch, turn around 180 degrees, shoot that guy. Run over to that corner, turn around once more, shoot that guy, and there you go. Those are the only two enemies that will shoot crossbows at you. It's near impossible to dodge them when you're on this elevator. You're just a sitting duck, so you have to shoot them immediately. Now I'm going to stand in this location here, take out the shotgun, and the beauty of this is, notice how in front of me the railing does not exist. The railing is only on the corners. So what you do is take out your shotgun, stand in this location right here, and you can see that a lot of these enemies, because of where they're positioned, when I shoot them with the shotgun, they basically just fly off the edge of the elevator for an instant kill. And again, right here, take out the shotgun, position myself, and both of them fell off the edge of the elevator. Very, very easy way to dispatch of enemies quickly, because trust me, this is a section, once again, that's just kind of meant to overwhelm you. So right there, I waited for all of them to drop down, hit the shotgun. I hit one of them off the edge. Unfortunately, a parasite emerged, so I'm going to try to finish that off, and you see right there, the parasite, I got him to fall off the edge. There's two enemies to fall off the edge. Again, just a very, very useful strategy, and it's all about placement. And I remember on my initial walkthrough for this game, I stood in the corner. And the reason you don't want to stand in the corner is because once you shoot the enemies, you just shoot them into the opposite corner, and that essentially does nothing. Whereas with this strategy, by standing where I'm standing now and taking out the shotgun, you're able to shoot most of them off the edge. Now right here, the only reason I'm standing in the corner now is because there's a parasite, and I didn't want to get too close to it. But again, right there, you see I resume my normal position and just shoot that guy right off the edge. And trust me when I say, when you do that strategy, it makes that elevator way, way easier. And another benefit, of course, of shooting the enemies off the edge is that you basically mitigate the chance of a parasite emerging, because if the enemy flies off the edge, it's an instant kill. And for whatever reason, even if they did hatch a parasite, you know, they're falling all the way down to the bottom of the tower, so there's no physical way for them to actually get to you. So by shooting them off the edge, it helps you save ammo, it saves stress, and it lowers your chances of having to deal with a parasite. Of course, as you saw, you still might have to deal with a parasite, and if you get overwhelmed, don't be afraid to use a flashbang. But otherwise, like you saw there, I just ended up basically using the shotgun the entire time. Now we're going to get in this little elevator here. We are now to the top of the tower, and we are going to be entering the final section of the castle, the final section of Chapter 4, and that is the Salazar boss fight. So before I talk to the merchant here, I'm just going to save my game. The reason I do that is just because if I want to make any changes to the upgrades I do, then I can just reload that save and still have all my resources before the upgrades.
Welcome.
But here we go. I'm going to approach the merchant, and this is very, 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 very important. Make sure you buy a rocket launcher. That's going to make this boss fight very simple. I mean, really simple. It's almost laughable how easy the rocket launcher makes this boss fight. So I'm just going to go ahead and sell all of my treasures, all of my health items. I have enough to buy 5 rocket launchers right now, but again, all you need is 1. And so I'm going to go ahead. You see, I've done a pretty good job at conserving ammunition, and I have quite a supply of grenades. I'm actually very proud of that because on my initial walkthrough, I was always struggling to get grenades. But again, that's kind of what I talked about, how I planned everything in this walkthrough. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I wanted to share all of those strategies and all of those tips with you guys. Now you see I am going to have to throw away 1 grenade, so as always make sure it's the incendiary grenade because those are the least valuable.
Thank you.
And there we go. I was able to fit the rocket launcher, and now because I have just a lot of money, I'm going to go ahead and once again just litter in some upgrades, get some upgrades to the pistol, upgrade the TMP a little bit.
Thank you.
And again, my general strategy is I never focus on primarily one weapon. I just kind of sprinkle in the upgrades every once in a while, and I try to kind of distribute them evenly on every weapon that I own. But anyway, guys, here's a cutscene, and then the boss.
You just missed her. The ritual is over. She left with my men to an island.
What?
I think it's time I paid my due respects towards your impressive and stubborn will. Mr. Kennedy, welcome.
Monsters. Guess after this, there'll be one less to worry about.
Alright guys, so watch how easy this boss fight is. All you're going to do is take out the TMP and immediately start shooting Salazar in his eye. So you can see right there, shoot the eye as much as you can. Eventually he will recoil, and that's when he's going to expose himself. So you see that the shell opens up. You're going to take out the rocket launcher, fire 1 shot dead center, and it is an instant kill. The boss fight, it literally takes 15 to 20 seconds. It's kind of a joke of a boss fight, but again, that's just how powerful the rocket launcher is. And it's relatively inexpensive. You know, it only costs 30,000 currency. And again, given the fact, like I said, that the castle is the area in the game where you get so much money. It's like the best section in the game to get rich. You should never have a problem of affording a rocket launcher in this game, or at least in this castle section. So by buying the rocket launcher, the boss fight just becomes an absolute joke. And without the rocket launcher, the boss fight is pretty tough. I remember, I've actually, believe it or not, I've only ever done the boss fight without a rocket launcher once, and that was on my very first time playing the game way back when on the Nintendo Wii. And that was just because that was my first time ever playing a Resident Evil game. I didn't know that the rocket launcher was so powerful. I was a pretty inexperienced gamer, and I did the boss fight without a rocket launcher, and it took me, I remember it took me like 2 or 3 days. I kept dying. I kept running out of ammo. It was one of the hardest things I felt like I'd ever done in a video game. And then when I played the game again years later on the Xbox 360, by then I was a more experienced gamer, and then I was a bit more familiar with this game, so I knew about the rocket launcher. And sure enough, I was just kind of like kicking myself because because the boss fight is so easy, as opposed to if you go into it without a rocket launcher. But so here you go. We are now done with Chapter 4-4. You're going to make your way out of the castle. We're going to go down, and there's going to be a boat, and Ada is there, and she's going to take us to the island, which, of course, for some reason, Salazar thought it was a good idea to tell us where they're taking Ashley. He must have been pretty confident that he was going to kill us, but lucky for us, we beat him, and now we know exactly where to go. And unfortunately, as I've said this entire walkthrough, Chapter 5 and 6, they take place on the island. Chapter 6 isn't that bad. It's mainly just the final boss fight. There's really not much else to it. But Chapter 5 is awful. There's really no other way to put it. Chapter 5 is just the worst part of the game. I'm pretty sure almost everyone agrees with that statement. Now, before I move on, I am going to deal with the merchant here. Again, just kind of clear some room in my inventory. You can see even with the extra large briefcase, I still don't have much room. I've acquired a lot of resources, but yeah, so we're going to be moving on to the island, and in my opinion, the island is just the worst part of the game. Usually, when I tell people that this is my favorite game of all time, whenever I get more specific, I'll say the first 4 chapters, like the first 2/3 of this game, are my favorite game of all time. My favorite game of all time, because chapters 1 through 4 are amazing. Chapter 5 is awful, and then, like I said, Chapter 6, there's really not a whole lot going on. So it's hard to love it or hate it. But lucky for us, you know, the island does have a couple saving graces. Just to kind of give you a little preview, in Chapter 5-1, I think, we're going to meet a new enemy type called the Regenerators, which are really cool. And then in Chapter 5-3, we actually have my favorite monster in the game, and that is just called It. And of course, part of the reason I like it is because its name is It, and if you've watched any of my other videos before, you know I love Stephen King's It, but yeah, so the island's not all bad.
Need a ride, handsome?
Okay.
Alright guys, there you go. That is the end of Chapter 4-4. We are now completely done with Chapter 4. Once again, I want to thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you get the chance. As always, let me know what you think of the walkthrough or of the game in the comments down below. And even though we're moving on to the worst part of the game, I'll still do my best to provide some entertaining commentary. Until then, guys, I will see you in the next video.